Put down your baby and pick up a beer. Dad Jokes is back with a brand new episode. I'm Jerry, joined here by Brandon, and you're listening to the podcast of two dads going through the journey of fatherhood as you all sit back and hear us as we're going through it. And Brandon, yeah, it's funny, we always say the journey of fatherhood, and that journey's been a little bit chaotic lately, which is probably why we've gone maybe the longest we've ever gone in between episodes, because we just haven't had very much free time at all. So what's going on, my friend?
This is the longest we've gone in between episodes, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about, giving everybody a life update, kind of where we are and how to navigate as dads in this busy world. But I'm good. I've been spending way too much time with you, actually. How are you doing?
I was just saying we've been busy, but we've been busy together. But maybe we should just try recording the podcast while driving, because we've been spending lots of hours in the car. I'm not sure that'd be
I know
safe,
our wives would probably appreciate that.
That's true. They might be fans of that more than carving out some of the time of our busy days into doing this locked up in our basement. But Brandon, the show's called Dad Jokes for a reason. So before we get into the craziness that's been going on with us, do you have a dad joke you want to lead off with, or do you want me to lead off? I like mine today. I think mine's pretty good.
So I don't love mine today, so let's leave the people in suspense. Mine is more of a Jerry type dad joke. It's okay. Kind of it's a traditional dad joke. Really, I forgot I had those cards, and I could have just used one of those. I was looking stuff up today, but I'll go first. You might appreciate it. We'll see. You also may have used this before.
Oh, great.
What do you call a cult that's hard to get into?
I don't know.
Difficult.
Oh,
difficult.
Yeah.
Jerry rolls his eyes, but if Jerry would have found this one, he probably would have had this one saved to talk about too.
It'll be interesting to see. I think you'll like mine today. I think it's pretty funny.
Cool.
So we'll leave the people in suspense. But Brandon, I know a lot's been going on. We bounced some of it off each other, but probably not even as much as normal because we've been so busy with work stuff lately. But what's been going on in the Banks household?
Well, first and foremost, we in the midst of our absence, I have a 1-year-old in our household now, which is
crazy,
which is great. KJ turned 1. We had and for those who are new listeners, we had an argument early in the podcast before either of the kids were here about first birthdays, and I was on the. I think it's pointless to have a first birthday for your kid train. Don't call me heartless. This is where I was. The kid won't remember it. It's mainly for the parents. I'm not really into making it all that big of a thing. So naturally, Bryce had. I mean, it wasn't too crazy, but there was a decent amount of people there, and KJ had a good first birthday as well. The fun part, and I'm joking now because I'm good with my kids having birthday parties. I just don't want to spend crazy amounts of money on them at this age. But with KJ, it's fun. KJ and Bryce, it's fun just seeing them eat the cake for the first time and really get into it. So the birthday party went really well. It was a lot of fun just seeing him kind of interact with other kids his age, because it almost feels like, even though Bryce was a COVID baby, other than Bryce, I feel like he's had less organized play dates than Bryce did for one reason or another. So it's fun just kind of watching him interact with other kids. He did a really good job. And obviously, he had a lot of fun, just basically getting spoiled for what essentially turned into a week straight, because his birthday was early in the week and his birthday party wasn't until that Saturday. So he had a very, very good week between family and friends.
Kids seem to have birthday months more than birthdays.
Oh my goodness, it's nuts,
it does
especially
seem to
at this
last.
age.
Yeah, it does seem to last for a long. I can't really hate on him too much, because I remember being a kid, and especially because I had divorced parents. It was you had the one house party, then the other house party, and then if you had a kid party. So you try to get as much out of it as you can as a kid. So you can't hate on them too bad.
That's probably from the kid's perspective one of a bonus of having your parents divorced. That's kind of dope. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know.
I don't know. 2 Christmases, 2 birthday parties. I mean, it doesn't hurt, but you can't usually. Well, it depends on your parents, I guess. But we didn't really take stuff back and forth, so it wasn't all that great because you got something great, you had to leave it, and then you could only play with it when you came back. So
Oh, so if PlayStation's at mom's house, you
Yep.
can't take the PlayStation with you to dad's house?
100%. So that's the thing. You get like I remember when I got a brand new Xbox, it was a great present. I was geeked, and then we had to go to my dad's like an hour after we opened it on Christmas Day, so I couldn't play it for a few days after that.
Oh, I'm stashing that thing in my bag or something. I'm taking the
we
risk.
tried. Me and my brother tried with some things. Some things we could get away with, some things we couldn't. PlayStation, Xbox, stuff like that we could not get away with. We were not going to sneak that. The TV was in the basement. There's no way to hide that.
Yeah, that's true. It's not like you can. It wasn't. I mean, this was back in like 1967, so you couldn't
Exactly.
you didn't have like portable TVs or anything.
Exactly. Big heavy giant TVs. Yeah.
Yeah, the TVs with the. It's crazy. I mean, we're gonna go on a segue, so I'm not gonna go too deep into it. But you think about like my parents. I remember when we brought home like a flat in the front screen, but still like a tube TV in the back. 32-inch, and that was like our main TV.
You probably
needed
three people to carry it inside too.
It was my dad mounted it. This
gosh.
little bitty 32-inch. Like it was kind of a hood mount, to tell you the truth, but it worked. It was up there.
That's
you had
awesome.
to look up, and I'm like, but this TV was not big enough to be mounted at all. Like I wouldn't put a 32-inch TV in my bathroom. Like I might sound a little bougie there, but I like my TVs. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
so KJ's birthday went well. The next day, actually, we had family pictures. It was supposed to be for KJ's first birthday, but the kids did great. Well, you know what? No, they didn't. Bryce. So this is, we kind of talked about this before, but Bryce has been way better behaviorally. He has his moments, like you can tell. He's still super sweet. He's very emotional, but he's showing improvement. And I know sometimes I get on here and I'm like, man, this kid is annoying me, which he still does. But it's he is way more good than bad. But you can definitely tell when he's tired or hungry. It's no question. And in this particular case, I don't know that he was either. He just didn't feel like doing something. But the saving grace that we have, so we did pictures at our house. So our photographer came out, and we did pictures. But Bryce does not like to be embarrassed, or like you get a different version of Bryce, quote unquote, publicly than you would just at home. So when I'm telling you, like within a 5-second time frame, he was like screaming, throwing a full blown tantrum to. As soon as the doorbell rang, like super kid, perfect, doing everything he was told to do, it was unbelievable. So if we're ever having him in a bad mood, we might just take him out and figure something out there. But the pictures went great. KJ, in addition to that, and I guess before I really get into some other highlights of the last couple of weeks, you want to kind of get us started on what the beginning of the last month's been like for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's been chaos a little bit. It's crazy for me and you right now. We're doing a lot of traveling for work. So Brandon and I have both been out of the house a little bit more than normal, and having to stay overnight out of the state and stuff like that. So it's been a little bit weird from that standpoint.
Yeah, we're probably averaging two days a week for the last month at least.
Yeah, well, we're not home. So it's funny though, Brandon. Obviously we've been doing this podcast a long time, and most people know that my youngest Avery, she's nicknamed Angry Avery, and typically she's been the difficult one, I will say. But lately, and I've kind of said this for a while now, she's really turned a corner, but she is bar none the good kid, quote unquote, right now. She is the good one in the household most of the time.
Uh-oh.
She still has her moments.
That's a not so subtle shot.
Well, she has her moments, and she definitely, is a toddler and will freak out about, silly things and the world is ending, but she bounces back super quick, and the kid's just happy most of the time. Like I would say 90% of the time, she's just happy, giggling, dancing, having fun. She likes her own things, and she likes to stay in her own lane, but she's just a good kid, good, happy kid. Her speech is growing a ton, which is really fun because now she's not just saying things, but she's like trying to ask questions and figure things out, and you got 5-6 word sentences instead of 2 word sentences or 3 word sentences. So it's been great. The bad part about it is she's definitely Peyton's copycat. So anything Peyton does or says, she definitely wants to copy, which can be good at times, but sometimes it can not be great. So Peyton's big thing lately has been, I don't like this. And then she started saying some things that she probably shouldn't. Like, she heard the word hate, and I don't think she really understands it, but she knows it's negative. So she'll say she hates something, which we're trying to stop. But then, of course, Avery heard it, and she's said it a couple times. And then, just like weird things like that where you'd be like, where are you hearing this? Or why are you saying stuff like this? So we're trying to work through that. But, Avery definitely wants to do what Big Sis wants to do until Big Sis wants to ask her to participate in something. And then Avery's like, nope, I want to do my own thing.
You ever do like your investigating a little bit? Like, where did you hear that at? And then, or what's funny, sometimes I know for a fact that Kelsey may think that it came from somewhere else, and then so she'll ask, and I have a good idea where it came from. This happened just the other day. She's gonna hate me for saying this. Hate, but she asked Bryce, she's like, "Where did you hear that at?" And it's 100% Kelsey, like 1,000%. It's how he was doing a hand motion and the way she said something, but she did not think it was her. First thing he said, "Mommy says that." It was great.
He rolled right on her.
It's fun doing some investigating when that happens. You figure out exactly where it came from, and then you got to decide how you want to attack it.
Yeah, well, it's fun too because sometimes, like you said, you got to look in the mirror and you almost are like, is this on me? Because like Peyton started saying "come on" all the time, like
that's definitely you,
and it was hilarious because the way she says it, she'll be like, be like super exaggerated with something. Like she'll drop something and she'll be like, "Come on," and which is 100% on me.
It's probably her watching sports with you.
Yeah, exactly. But she says it a lot, and sometimes you're like, "Okay, Pate, come on, chill out now." But it is kind of funny because she's definitely picking up on stuff. Even we got to be more careful with even stuff on like music or TV than we ever had before because before she wouldn't notice things, but now she definitely does. So. We definitely gotta be more conscious of that, and we have been, but it is kind of funny. Continue on with Avery. One thing we talked about the last time on the podcast, Brandon, was we were getting close to when we were gonna take the binky away completely. We did that. Fun story about that, really quick, is it didn't go quite as well as it did with Peyton, but it was still pretty good. Like she was upset the first day for sure. Second day wasn't great, but long story short, about after a week, she was pretty much great. She would barely ask for it, and if she did, you could basically be like, no, and then she'd be fine. Well, my mom watches the girls one day a week, and we took it away from Avery the day my mom watched her the first time, at night. So it didn't affect my mom. And then my mom came a week later, and we forgot to tell her because it kind of became normal, right, in a week. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we get home, and that night, Avery's like all about her binky. And we're like, what the heck? We thought we were through this. And then also we look in the crib, and there's one in there. And I'm like, oh, no. Sure enough, my mom didn't know, gave her one, found one. I didn't even know she found it. And we kind of reverted back for a couple days. But she's good now. It isn't really a thing. The only bad part about it. So
did you just go cold turkey?
Cold turkey. So we took it away. And, again, she wasn't a huge fan for, like, a night. But, even when I'm not a fan, she cried for, like, maybe 20 minutes. I came in, checked on her a couple times, and then she went to sleep. So it wasn't like the worst thing. I mean, it made me sad. It kind of broke my heart because she was legit sad about it. It wasn't like she was throwing a tantrum. She was legit sad, Brandon. I normally I'm the strong one. I was the weak one because I was like, oh man, this kid wants her binky. But
I feel like that's also, I don't know why, but like mentally, that might be why I was made to have. Not I'm gonna say made to, because who knows what the future holds. But like, I feel like I'm better with boys because I don't know how I react if like my daughter's looking at me sad.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's just looking at me. She's like, I want binky, Dad. I want binky. And like, what do? You're like, no. So that was
because I've had the same thing with Bryce, and I'm in the bed. Kelsey is hitting Kelsey, and I'm like, nah, he just got to suck it up.
Exactly. And that's like in my head, I was thinking that, and then all of a sudden she's actually doing it, and I'm like, oh man. But she's done great with it actually. The only hard part with it, and it's not really hard, but like I noticed she takes longer to go to sleep now, and like will stay up. But like she's not mad, and she's just kind of playing. But I don't know if that's correlated or she's just at like a sleep regression type thing where normally you'd put her down, she'd fall asleep right away. Now she'll take a little bit to go to sleep. So I don't know if it's related to the binky or not, but the binky's gone. So we're a binky-free household now. So that is exciting. But before I finish with what's going on, you guys kind of give us the rest of what's going on with you guys.
So, I mean, in addition to first birthday, we start to hit some real milestones. So he is started walking. And actually, this happened while you and I were on our way back from the work trip to Indiana. So I think we're on the way back. So we're on a 3.5 hour drive back home, and we're FaceTiming our families. And I kind of look. I'm watching KJ because I see him. He's doing his couch straddler thing. I'm like, he's about to start walking. Like, he looks like he's about to start walking. And then we hang up, and I feel like it was 5 minutes later, Kelsey was calling me, and I got a video of him walking. So it's great. It sucks because you weren't there, or I wasn't there, but it's great because we've been waiting for him. He's been on the verge forever. And also, really, I feel like mentally, like, you want to be there for all this stuff. We'll get into it in the actual episode. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm not gonna bury. I'll bury the lead, if that's the saying. So in addition to that, he started talking like way more. Like, he's up to. I mean, there's probably 10 to 15 words that he says consistently. He uses the right context, or can point things out and know what they are and say what they are. Now they're one-offs. It's not like he's stringing together any phrases or anything like that. But and he's getting really good with talking, which is good. He is becoming clingier, which we're not used to with KJ. We're really not used to any attitude at all. He is in a good mood, happy, like 23 and a half out of the 24 hours in the day. But he is definitely he's more aware when you're not in his line of sight, and he is starting to learn. I'd say he's not quite at tantrum level, but you like the step before that.
Are you close?
If it's something
You're close
he doesn't like,
age.
if it's something he doesn't like or he wants something, you're definitely getting tears and crying. And he's starting, and this is like, I'm talking, like, I wrote the notes to this episode like a little bit last night, a little bit this morning, and after these were finalized, I got, like, he started, like, throwing himself back in my arms, like, and dead weight in his body and making it so. And this is new, like, this is today fresh, where I'm picking him up when he's mad about something, and his arms go straight in the air, and he doesn't want to be picked up. And the first time that happens with your kid, that throws you off a little bit, because you're not. I mean, I'm used to Bryce doing it, so I almost prepare at certain times for that to happen. KJ wasn't ready for it. I'm ready for it now, but he almost caught me slipping earlier. So that's going well. And then as a family, you talked about kind of our individual absences. That's definitely shout out to both of our wives, because they've been holding down the fort. We're trying to get some things taken care of long term for both of our families that should work out great. But in the meantime, there's some short term sacrifice, and that's mainly on their end from watching the kids' perspective. We'll talk about the effects on us individually as dads a little bit later. And then the last thing for us, even though some days it doesn't feel like it because you and I are traveling from one time zone to another, we survived daylight savings time, which is the worst creation when you have kids who are.
It is.
Like less, I'd say probably less than 10. Like, daylight savings time doesn't exist. The rest of the world is operating on a different playing field than you are. Your kids wake up when they feel like it, and they don't adjust at all, it feels like. So that sucks, but we're over it.
That's funny, Brandon. So I kind of went through Avery with Peyton. I joked that obviously, Avery's kind of been the better behaved kid, but Peyton's actually been pretty good. She definitely is emotional. Has outbursts. The problem is, like, I feel like Avery, she has an outburst. You can distract her still, or you can, basically cut through it, and then it's short lived to the most part. Where Peyton's can last for long periods of time. And then you think you get over it, and then a minute later something else sets her off. But the nice thing is, I do think she's kind of at the age, and I think you can probably relate with Bryce too, but you can really start having real conversations and reasoning with her, and it doesn't always go the way you want it to, but she actually is understanding what you're saying. And sometimes that works. Sometimes they're like seeing red and it doesn't matter. But that's still fun to have like those real conversations where they actually understand where you're coming from. And she'll even like circle back sometimes, like after, and we'll be like, "Hey, Peyton, so earlier, were you upset? What were you upset about?" And then she'll be like, "Well, I was upset," and then she can talk about it like after the fact, which is cool. She's always kind of struggled with sensory stuff. Like she's very particular about clothes. And, would freak out about certain pull-ups and pants and long sleeves. And she's still that way, but she's getting a little bit better, or at least it's changing. She freaks out about tags now, which I actually can understand because tags can be annoying. But she's not as bad about pants anymore, and she'll wear coats and shoes. And so she's getting better at some of that kind of stuff, but still definitely has a thing with sensory stuff. So we're
Bryce
working
update.
through that.
He still hates buttons. That hasn't changed. Keep going.
Well, Peyton had a tag on the outside of a dress yesterday, and she made me cut it off. Not the inside.
I don't blame her for that. I actually would hate that too.
It was weird, but like it was just funny. And she's like almost about to lose it. I'm like, I'll cut it off. I don't care. Like just get over here. Let's cut it off. Let's get through it. But the other thing is we've actually because we've been kind of busy and a lot of stuff has been going on. They've gotten to spend a decent amount of time with their cousins lately. And that's been great. The girls love spending time with their cousins, their girl cousins and boy cousins. So that's really fun. They're at the ages where they like know who their cousins are, want to hang out with them, and are actively playing with them. They also have been kind of more obsessed with my sister than in the past. Like we're like hanging out, and they'll like want her to take them to the bathroom or them to come with them. It's just cool, because they not that they didn't care about their aunts and uncles before, they did, but it was almost like, it was when they were there and they were making the effort that they cared. Now like they're going out of their way, Peyton and Avery, to like actually like ask for their Aunt Bree. So that's kind of been fun to see. They've been all about that. And then another big news, Peyton, we did sign up for preschool in the fall. So, some big changes might be happening to you and I, Brandon, where that changes things. But if we are still here in Michigan, then she will be signed up for preschool. So we're excited for that. We've been talking to her about that. She told me the other day that Dad was going to, well, actually, no, she said that we were going to get her 12 dresses for school. And I said, oh, okay, great. Who's buying you those 12 dresses? She goes, Grammy. I was like, okay, I'm on board.
Nice.
I'm in.
Nice.
You can have 12 dresses. It sounds great. So, she definitely, like I said, she's a silly kid. She's fun. Both the girls right now are like I said, they're at great ages, and they both, though, the one thing I will say, the last thing I'll say is they've the last month or so kind of gravitated more towards mom. Both of them, which, usually one of the two is team dad, but it's kind of been more about the mom show lately, which is tough, but it's I'm dealing with it. But I will say today, you talk about fresh news today. I was in the morning. They both were like sitting in my lap, cuddling with me for like 30 minutes to 45 minutes, like just hanging on Dad. We're all about Dad, and Mom was in the room, so it wasn't like by default. So that was cool. They were both giving Dad a lot of attention and wanted to hang out with Dad and play with Dad. So that was super cool and definitely means something, especially when you've been gone a lot, to have your kids like be missing you and wanting to be around you.
Yeah, you want it. It's it kind of sucks if they don't, to tell you the truth.
Yeah,
I've seen both sides of that in the last month.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, because sometimes like you'll come home and you could tell they missed you and they run up and they're geeked, and then other times you come home and they kind of like look up and they're like, oh, Dad's here. And you're like, all right, guess I'll leave again. No, it's they've been, like I said, today was good, and they've been mostly good, but they definitely gone through a little bit of a mom phase lately. So it comes in waves. Everyone tells you that, and we've definitely seen that. So I'm hoping the dad wave comes soon, so I can take advantage of it the next go around.
Let's get it.
So Brandon, do you have a piece of baby gear to go over today?
I do. Bryce got this gift probably a year or more ago. He's infatuated with my Apple Watch, like has been for probably the last couple of years. So Kelsey got him a VTech My First Kitty smartwatch a while ago, and it's always been something that he likes. But the past 4 or 5 months, I mean, we basically have to take it away from him. He likes it so much. Hates when it runs out of battery, but it's something that it's cool. It's not expensive. It's less than $20 most places. Can be a potty training helper, especially like at the point that Bryce is at right now, where it's not really an issue. They do have certain things there that like almost reminds them as they're playing. Like it's like a dog in the watch that they're like using and like petting and feeding and washing from what I can see. But also the dog has to go potty and it like reminds him to do stuff like that.
Like a Tamagotchi or whatever those things were?
So I don't know what. So I used to have like a Gigapet or something like that.
Yeah.
That I'm like, is this kind of like that? Just like a dumbed down version of it. And I don't even remember what I did with that thing. I just remember having it and caring about it for like a month of my life.
They were big. They were big for like a couple months. I feel like when we were kids.
I think they gave them out in like McDonald's Happy Meals or something.
They were big for a minute.
Yeah, that was the type of thing that like I had it for a while, and my parents would have been like, you spending too much time with this, and if it gets too popular and they hear about it, they used to just take it away. Something's got to be wrong with this thing if everybody loves it. Shout out to my parents. That's all I got for baby gear.
I like it. My piece of baby gear, Brandon, I've gone over like similar stuff in the past, but this is a little bit more particular. Peyton got a while ago, and it kind of at the beginning it was more annoying, but now it's actually coming in handy. She got this dry erase like index cards that are on a ring, and they like show you how to draw letters, uppercase and lowercase letters. And it comes with a dry erase marker. There's a million of them out there, so if you look them up on Amazon, you can find big books. You can find and we have lots of activity books that are actually great. They help you learn shapes and colors and matching and letters and all that good stuff. But this is specifically just for letters. And like I said, forever she would just draw on it, and it would just be like, okay, you have a dry erase marker, which is dangerous, and you're just drawing on stuff and she wasn't like actually following the lines. But lately, she actually has been kind of paying attention to what they are, and then getting more understanding of the letters, and like P is for Peyton, and this M is for mom, and she knows lots of them, and she's more engaged with it. So that's kind of nice, and it's easy. It's little small index cards that are on a ring, and so it doesn't take up a lot of space. And like I said, it's been nice to be able to teach her over and over again. I know you guys use an iPad, and that's another nice way too. The problem I had with the iPad thing is then she want it, for ever and ever and ever, and then she's running around with an iPad. At least these are cards, or if they get ruined, they get ruined. So that's my piece of baby gear. It's nice if you're trying to teach your kid letters. And even before you drawing, you got the letters on there. You can teach them the actual letters before you get into the drawing, but you got both stages.
Yeah, so you mentioned the iPad. I use the Freeform app with an Apple Pencil with Bryce, but I will say lately it's been less of that without because I used to be able to just he learned how to use an iPad basically.
Right,
and
exactly.
So he'll swipe through, and he knows what YouTube is. He'll go on YouTube and start watching a different video, like appropriate to what he wants to watch. Like he goes in there and picks it out, and it's just like, this is defeating the purpose. So unless I'm like, I absolutely can sit there and focus 100% on what he's doing with the iPad, which happens, but it hasn't turned into like a go play by yourself with his iPad thing, because he's not just drawing at that point. He goes wherever he feels like it.
Well, it's funny you mentioned this. I just remembered a story that happened in the last couple of weeks. So Peyton has like a little kid's Amazon tablet, right, that we got for when we actually flew on the plane. That's the whole reason we got it. And we don't really let her use it except for when she has to go poop. Because you used to freak out, and now she would play on there. And so I think we've talked about it on the podcast. She like pretends sometimes she has to go to the bathroom so she can play with it, but we call on to her. Well, she got even smarter though. So then the other day she was going poop, and my mom had her on the toilet while she was watching her, and then it was nap time, and so she got off, and Peyton goes, "Grammy, can I watch one more episode of Spidey in my room before I go to bed?" She goes, "Fine, but you can only watch one episode." Which, how in the world my mom bought that from a 3-year-old is in itself a joke. But the funny part is,
man.
Peyton was up there. Well, Peyton goes under her covers and acts like she's sleeping. And she's watching Spidey for like 2 hours up in her room until my mom went up there and figured out this kid's just under her blankets watching Spidey and his amazing friends on repeat because grandma didn't take a tablet away from her that she's not supposed to have in the first place unless she's going to the bathroom. So shout out to my mom and also shout out to my daughter.
Shout out to Peyton because you got to respect the hustle.
Oh, yeah. That kid's smart. She will figure out a way to get what she wants. And it's pretty funny what she comes up with. But, yeah, my mom's like, yeah, she definitely fooled me. I was like, no kidding, because she's like looking on the baby monitor. She's like, oh, she's under her blankets. Yeah, with the tablet watching Spidey. That kid's going to be the death of me. But anyways, Brandon, that's a good segue into our topic today. I'll let you kick it off, kind of what we're going through and what we're going over.
Yeah, so, I mean, with what you and I have been dealing with to a degree lately, it's the balancing act as a dad, but a busy working dad as well. And I already said it, but I shouldn't say dad. This should be parent, because both of our wives, and it's not uncommon for the wife to work, or the mom to work, I should say, and still come home and help and keep a household together. So it's definitely a two-way street that's not specific to dads. But basically, what does that look like for us? How do we manage it? What do we do right? What do we do wrong? And kind of what's the impact on that? I guess to start, for me, part of it is mentally being able to, as much as possible, try to turn off everything else that's going on, which lately I think you and I can both attest to is becoming more and more difficult. It depends on the season of your life that you're in. But as a dad, a father, a husband, you feel mentally the pressure of making sure that your household is provided for, making sure you're putting your family in the best position, not only now, but in the future. And sometimes that can mean, as you advance in your career, a sacrifice of physical time with your family, and it's that constant balancing act. And does it make sense in 3 years to have a sacrifice for right now from a time perspective, and weighing what that looks like and making sure that you can get to that point. And we'll kind of dig into that a little bit, but I mean that's where I would start. It's what does that balancing act look like? How do we get there?
I think the hard part is, and like you said, it's not just dads, it's parents. But for parents, is I think when we were younger, or from an outside looking in at other people, it's you can very easily say, okay, well, option A gives you X amount of hours to spend with your family, so that's the pro here, but you make a little bit less money, and it's very like black and white, right? You're able to put like, this is what you have or this is what you have. But oftentimes it's not that simple, because when you're talking about opportunities at work, you really don't know what you're getting, and you really you can't always assume that your future is going to look a certain way, even if you stay with what you're currently doing or switching. And I think that's part of the hard part we've been going through, right? Like we might say, okay, we're going to sacrifice some time now, but it's going to be worth it financially so we can provide for our family. But also, maybe it's worth it because we gain more flexibility in the future, or are able to do things that help out in different ways. Those are pros. But then also, it's easy to say, okay, well, if something like that isn't worth it, I have more flexibility now, or I have more time now. But you don't always know with your current situation that could change at any point in time. And then did you hurt yourself twice over? So, I mean, that's the complexity that we live with. And I think that's the hard part as a parent when you're making these decisions, because it's not just the career, like, oh, I want to advance, oh, I want more money, oh, I want higher status. It's balancing and figuring out all these moving targets and what is best for not just you, but for your spouse and for your kids, and what is best for them today, tomorrow, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And that becomes troublesome because, like you mentioned, Brandon, you want to be able to have that work-life balance. When you come home, you turn off work and you want to just focus on your family. But part of focusing on your family is worrying about these things that are going to impact them. So even if you're at home and you're not, quote-unquote, worrying about work, you might be worrying about the decisions you're making and how they're affecting them. All that can encompass you not being able to spend the quality time you want to. So that's really the struggle that I think we have definitely been dealing with, but lots of parents deal with is, it's not so simple as to just turn it off always, because turning it off then can hurt you, because then you're not making the best decisions or spending the appropriate amount of time figuring out what is the best decisions for your family in the long run.
And let's face it, it's a lot easier to say, quote unquote, turn it off than it actually is to do it. Even if you, like, I try to make a conscious effort, especially when I first get home, of not focusing on my phone. Even though it might be half an hour, and that might be a half an hour that I have, and then I know I have to do it. Especially with the jobs that we have, we're always getting called, or I got a few work texts this morning of things that I needed to deal with in real time. And we're closed today. So it's just, some of it you can't turn off. But it's almost, for me, less about like actually unplugging and more having like the mental practice of, hey, I need to focus on this right now. It helps you mentally, because it depending on the where you're at, it's hard to mentally turn it off. And if you can focus on what's in front of you in that moment, that's more time that you're not giving to other things. But it's been tough, and we talked about it recently. We almost been having these same conversations of why this topic is perfect, because do you in these decisions that you can make throughout your career, you and I can both see individuals that we look at, and you wonder, from a professional standpoint, they may be in a point that you want to get to or have been, but do they have the relationship that we want to have with our family and our kids at the end of the tunnel? And it's that constant balancing act, because you have to do what makes sense for your family, and making the right decision for not only your future but theirs. But you also got to have a relationship with them, and a strong one at the end of it. At least the way you and I both want to be parents and spouses. So the question is, what can you do to do it?
Yeah, and I think, for me, not that I have the answers by any stretch, because we're still figuring it out, but I think for me, it's like a combination. Like, I think when you get home, I need something to help decompress really quickly, and then I need something to help engage really quickly. So, that might be, hey, I come home, get changed, take a 5-minute shower. That way I can get my thoughts off about work, get focused, basically just, like you said, decompress. I mean, maybe it's going for a quick walk, or some people might be like a workout or something, basically to decompress from everything that's going on in the work world. And then, like I said, once you can kind of decompress, it's engagement into an actual activity. Instead of just being around the kids, can you play a game with them? Can you start asking them about their day? Can you color with them? Can you do something where you're actually engaged with them? Because then it's easier, I think, as a parent, then you're actually doing something to not get caught up in your phone, or caught up in thinking about the million things at work, or stressing out about that, because now you're actually in the act of participating with your kid's life. And that's sometimes what I got to tell myself. I'll be like, okay, let's do something, because if I'm doing something, I'm not focused on the million other things going on in my head.
Yeah, for me, I think number one, it's about bringing like the energy. And work may beat you up, and this is why you and I, we have a little bit different of a drive home. You don't have, like, you have zero, like you live right next to where you work for the most part, unless, lately that's been different for you, but
we're working when we're driving most of the time.
Correct.
That's the that's the problem. We drive for 3.5 hours, but we're constantly talking about work and going through work stresses.
Yeah, and that's not, you don't have the time to decompress as much. In a traditional work day for me, my shortest drive home over the past 10 years has been what I have now, which is basically 25 minutes. And that allows me time to decompress. If I have a couple things hanging out there, I can probably mentally work through them, or I'm listening to a podcast. And that helps get my mind in a different state. And then when I walk through that door, and sometimes it's faking it, but I can tell really quick what the energy in the house is. And I want to, if the kids are tripping, which is not unusual, and Kelsey's trying to spend 15 different things. She's trying to get the house clean, get their stuff ready for the next day, get them fed, and get herself together. all that could have happened in the 2 hour stretch between when she got home with them and when I get there. But if I can bring some energy to the, and I'm talking positive energy and like legitimately, I'm coming in and I'm almost faking the funk. I can get them going, and that buys her some time to get some alone time with herself. But it also, I can fake it until it's where like they will match my energy and then they keep me there. So that might be we go. I get home and we might turn music on almost immediately, and I'm dancing around the living room with them. And both of them love to dance with me, and it's easy to kind of change that, and that's helped me a lot in the short term. And it's little things like that. It's just being intentional with the time that you have, and even if you got to do stuff like it's being intentional with the time. And then if I have to work on stuff at work, I put them out of bed. I'm spending quality time with my wife as much as possible. And then after she goes to bed, it's starting to work on stuff again or scheduling things. I mean, I'm notorious for this with different groups that you and I are in together, but I'm generally not scheduling stuff until after 9:30 or 10 o'clock because I got to be able to spend some time with my wife too. So being intentional about your time management with the little bit amount of time you may have is important for your household as well.
Well, the great thing too, Brandon, is kids are oblivious to stresses and worries of the world, so they don't know.
That's a great thing
and they
sometimes
don't care.
too.
You know, it is. That's what I'm saying. It's a great. It's a great thing because, you could have just had a terrible day or something's driving nuts, and their energy is going to be the same regardless whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And that's pretty awesome because they don't need. They don't need a lot from you, right? I mean, I say that but I mean it like they just want you there. They want your attention. They want your love. They want your time. So if you can give that to them, the other stuff, isn't as important. They don't have to. Your stresses aren't their stresses at this point in time, which is a beautiful thing. So you don't need to make it that way because they can also change your mood right away. I can tell you a ton of time I'll be kind of like overwhelmed or stressed, and then the kids are just being goofy or silly, and it's like, this is great. They don't know about any of this other stuff. They don't care. They're just there having fun, and you get to be a dad, and you don't have to worry about all that other stuff either at that moment in time.
Yeah, I mean that's super important. One additional thing I have is I think, and I don't know if everybody's like me, but I take pride or have taken pride in not bringing work home. Like, I leave it at the door. Even if I got stuff I got to work on, mentally I try to do that. But sometimes, depending on the situation, it's important to really talk through things with your spouse. I shouldn't say sometimes. It's important all the time. But I never almost like showing like a chink in my armor at all. And everything's always going to be all right. And there's nothing to worry about. And that's kind of just my mentality. And we're going to figure it out. And recently I had like I guess an open conversation with Kelsey about kind of where I am, the stress that I have and certain things. And for her, that helped her understand where I was at, what the process is like, and just, I think her overall, because it showed that we're worried about a lot of the same things. And I'm not just out here like faking the funk until we get stuff together. So I do think it's important, at least in my journey, it's almost like we broke through a wall together, as I kind of explained. And it really, to be vulnerable, it came in almost like a breakdown. Like I was going through some stuff at work. We got stuff that we have that's stressful as well. And it's like she kind of could see it on me. And then we had a full conversation about everything that I'm looking at as a whole, how it affects her, how it affects us, the day-to-day stuff you deal with. And I do think that I still am probably going to come in every day and bring that same energy. And there is something to that. I think that's good for the most part. But from her perspective, she almost thinks nothing ever bothers me. And so if things are kind of getting to her as far as a process, it was helpful to see a little bit of vulnerability on my end and understand that, yes, I am legitimately worried about certain things, and this is how we need to move to take advantage of them and be the best partners for each other and best parents for our kids. So don't be afraid. Use me as an example to open up to your spouse in that regard as well.
Yeah, Brandon, I think you're absolutely right. You got to be able to talk to them and let them know where you're at, and then also just hopefully be able to talk to someone else too, or other people as well. It doesn't just have to be your spouse. Not that it shouldn't be, but guys can tend to be, because of our society or whatever, and I don't know why it's this way, but it seems like it was this way for our parents and their parents, and kind of is this way for us. But like, there's this big pressure to provide for your family, to take care of everything, to do all the stuff around the house, and we want to be the best parents we can be, which I think is kind of ingrained into our generation now too, right? Like, be the family man at home, do the yard work and the grilling and the the stuff around the house in that regards, and then act like you said, kind of act like nothing bothers you. You're the super dad. You can handle it all. Nothing's gonna faze you, and you always want to be advancing at work and being as good as the guy down the road or your neighbor or your buddies. And that's a lot of pressure, man. And it just doesn't end. And then people just expect it. And like, even the way we talk in society, everyone's always like, "Oh, how's work going?" And they want this. People like expect certain advancements or expect you to be growing, or like, "Oh, I always knew you'd do great things," or "Oh, I'm surprised you're not doing this yet." And there's just all these outside pressures. And if you keep it inside, then at some point in time, you're probably going to have some bad habits, or you're going to explode. So you got to find, like I said, a way to decompress, someone to talk to, your spouse to talk to, and then you got to like prioritize too, because sometimes it's okay not doing it all, right? So like, joking around, like we always joke, because I like to do my lawn, but like you hire someone to do your lawn, but that might be good because it gives you more time.
Kelsey hired somebody to do my lawn
there you
because
go.
I refused to pay for it, but she was like, "You don't have enough time."
See, and that's smart. But like for me, in a way, sometimes like it's almost the opposite. Like I view it sometimes as like, okay, this is time for me to do something that I can like check off a list. And like, because like so many things that we deal with in our work are so vague and gray, and like not like, you don't know if the decisions you make are good for years or months, that it's nice to be able to do some tasks that you can say, I did that, check it off the list.
You can control it.
You can control it, right. But I guess the whole point is like, this is the world we live in, is there is a lot of pressures. And as a dad, and I think, the more kids you have, or the older they get, and the further you get in your career, I guess I always kind of thought like at some point in time, you're good with it all, right? And it just gets easier. But it seems like we're at that point where it's definitely just keeps going up and up and up. And I don't know what point it comes down, but it can become a lot, because you want to be the best parent. You want them to grow. You want them to learn. You want to be the best spouse. And you want to be the best at your job, because, quite frankly, it's easy to say, oh, you don't have to care that much about work. But if you don't care about work, then you got a million other concerns. Then you're concerned about financial stuff.
That's not the way either one of us are built.
Yeah, and it's just hard, because, it's you can trade some concerns for different concerns, but you're going to have some, right? So which ones do you want? And which ones can you control? And that's really the questions you have to ask yourself. And then you got to surround yourself with the best team possible. And, and then also give yourself some grace. If you have bad days or bad moments, you can't beat yourself up. Because I've been there, you get home and you're zoned out, and you're like, you go to bed and you're like, man, why didn't I, read the extra book before bed, or whatever it is, right? Just learn from it. Right? You got to learn, and then you try to be better the next day. But you got to give yourself some grace too, because you're going to have some moments. You're going to have some days. Because this dad thing ain't easy, man. This life thing ain't easy, right?
No, that's the number one pressure of them all. And you said it best. You have to give yourself grace, and if you can sit back and recognize, even if it's small things that you can change, you're always trying to get better. You will be, and that's the most important thing. So, for anybody out there, I think this was our therapy session almost. You can get through it. You got to trust yourself to make the best decision for your family. Make the decision with your spouses and with your kids in mind, and you're gonna kill it. We're all gonna be great.
Yeah. And the good thing too is your kids are watching, and I think that there's something to be said about putting in the work both at home and at work that resonates with kids too. They're I guess hard work does pay off in the long run, even sometimes it doesn't seem like it. So just keep putting the work in and doing your best, and things should work out. But that's probably a good place to stop, Brandon. And we got
a little sentimental, Jerry. I hope this joke is good.
I think this joke is good, and it's going to come like way off the wall after what we've been talking about because it's probably a great thing. This is pretty good, Brandon. You ready?
What did the deadbeat dad say?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the joke?
Brandon, what do you call an alien with 3 testicles?
Oh, my God.
I told you.
Oh, my goodness. That's Marvin Trace. I don't know. What's the answer?
Extraterrestrial.
This is one of those situations where the question in the joke was funnier than the actual answer. But that was good. That was good overall.
Extraterrestrial.
What do you call an alien with an extra testicle? Whatever you said.
3 testicles.
Good job, Jerry.
Yeah,
that's a good way. That's a good way
funny
to end it.
See, and when you're having a stressful day, just read some dad jokes. They'll make you laugh. That's probably why dad jokes became a thing, Brandon, because dads needed a way to just laugh at each other. So that's
I'll say this: stay off of Reddit's dad jokes thread. Normally, it's pretty good for me, but those are turning into some like R-rated. They're not dad jokes. They're definitely like uncle jokes for the most part on there right now. So
the uncle you can't invite to the family reunion jokes.
I need to tap into a different source. It took me a minute to find the right joke today, and you saw what came out of it.
Exactly. Well, Brandon, this is the part of the show where we do our shameless plug and to tell everyone, if you haven't already, like all our stuff, leave us a review. Follow us on all of our social media stuff. Message us. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you want to hear about. We love hearing from each and every single one of you. We try to get these episodes out pretty regularly, but it's been a little chaotic for us. So give us some grace with that because life's been a little bit crazy. But we're doing the best we can, and we definitely love being on this podcast and having our own little therapy session and then hearing from all you guys and seeing how you guys are doing. But until next time, as always, I'm Jerry, joined here by Brandon, and you've been listening to Dad Jokes.